Hello, in this video we're looking at an endgame build for Stranger of Paradise, and we're focused on using the sword and trying to use the magic combo abilities that it has. Things like Radiant Aura, that's both slash and holy, or the Tempest, that's slash and wind, or Ascension, that's slash and water, or Knight's Gambit, that's slash and lightning, ice, and fire, as well as things like Night Glow, that's slash and dark, but not so much Shining Wave. And unfortunately for Sacred Blade, we're not going to be using that because we are using the Tyrant. And the Tyrant's enchant is going to be stronger than what Sacred Blade offers, and Sacred Blade will actually result in a loss in damage on this particular build. So we're using Tyrant because they get the most intellect for a sword job. Um, like Black Mage and Sage get more intellect, but they can't use a sword. So we have the Tyrant, and in this case, it's up to you whether you use Lunarian or Magitech Knight, because in the end, we're not going to be using End Luna or End Magic, because End Luna, we we're basically going to be either at full HP or dead, and not much in between at endgame here. And then the Magitech uh, enchant or the and magic doesn't stack with Lightbringer, and it doesn't really help us with regular break damage to begin with. So, um, yeah, it's just your choice between End Holy or End Dark, and you can flip flop either way because we don't have any sword combo abilities effects that we rely on either of these two classes. So feel free to try those out or just switch as you feel like it. And we'll look at the uh, job affinities here. So we have Tyrant from our master points. Also reiterating, this is an endgame version of this build. We have Tyrant master points just to get extra intellect, but some of the most important thing here is the Tyrant 400%. All attacks against the enemy afflicted with an accumulated status ailment will critically hit. And why that's important is that we do have critical MP recovery master points. So every time you critical hit, you get extra, or you restore MP based on that critical MP uh, passive or that we have on the master points, which we'll look at later in the video. Also, there's timestamps if you need to jump around. And then if you decide to use Night Glow, that dark sword combo ability that drains your life, Tyrant's Trap is going to be how we recover that HP so that we're at full HP and not breaking some of our passives on our gear, which you could go a different route if you do really want to use dark sword combo abilities. And then to some extent, we're benefiting from uh, the Tyrant 50% and 120%, where we accumulate status ailments a little faster on the enemy, such as the the lightning vulnerability, fire vulnerability, and ice vulnerability from Knight's Gambit, or the dark vulnerability from Night Glow, or just whatever enchant we're using, accumulating that vulnerability. Even though we don't have very much stamina, I'm sorry, spirit to accumulate quickly or quicker, we're still doing so much damage that it's going to accumulate pretty fast, especially with this added to it. Unfortunately, we're not really going to be benefiting much from Tyrant 600%, even though we still might chain cancel. You might chain cancel. And because you have so much intellect, you're going to get more MP from a normal attack. But the hope is that we're swimming in MP that we rarely get to benefit from this Tyrant 600%. Next, we have Black Mage 600% so that we get even more intellect. And the hope is that when you soul shield from your other job, that you pass along those benefits to the Tyrant to get an extra 30 intellect. It doesn't sound like much, but then with the rest of all this other Black Mage stuff, you're getting more intellect. And then We also have the Riot Magic, or the Black Mage 400%, that increases your MP limit based on your magic damage dealt. And the reason why that's important is if you either A, get broken, or B, you accidentally use Lightbringer on this job, that you can still rebuild your max MP up through your normal routine once you kind of get, I say routine, but uh, well, yeah, it's your routine. Whatever routine you end up doing, the hope is that on this build, it's going to involve magic damage. And then we have the Sage, and the Sage is really just here for the intellect. My other build for this had a lot of Sage just stacked across the gear. So this version, we've lost about 140 intellect because we moved some things around. And we haven't actually really seen this field tested in this version, except it's going to be faster than any version I've used so far. Then we have Sword Fighter 600%, and this is helping us keep the costs of our combo abilities down. So Knight's Gambit only costs 150 MP in the end instead of 300. Now, you'll still need enough MP to actually use your sword combo abilities, but at least their costs are cut in half due to Sword Fighter 600%, and also because I wanted to preserve all of my gear slots for some type of damage boost in some way, shape, or form. So this is how we reduce our MP costs. And then we have Sword Fighter 400% to get access to more combo abilities. This won't be an issue if Knight's Gambit is the only thing you want to use. But if you wanted to use things like Night Glow or um, Shining Wave, even though Shining Wave is going to just be a projectile that's not as powerful as our other combo abilities, you could do Sword Fighter 400%. On top of that, this gives you damage dealt sword combo ability 40% roughly, even though it doesn't show up on the UI. That's what it says when it's increasing damage dealt with sword combo abilities. That's also your damage dealt and your break damage dealt if you try to do a break damage route. And then also we have Sword Fighter 250% that's going to help me just kind of close the gap on the enemy. And you might see me charge at them with a strong attack, or rush over to them with a strong attack, and then start doing a Knight's Gambit from that point. Next, we have Void Knight 600% so that you get the haste at all times, even if you get broken, uh, as long as your max MP is 400 or higher. And the reason we have this is Knight's Gambit is a long animation, so we want that animation to finish a lot quicker so that the enemy is defeated or less opportunity to hurt us. And then, as a minor benefit, we have the Void Knight 250% that's helping us recover just a little bit more MP across the board. Next, we have Dragoon 400% that increases your attack speed. So we finish our Knight's Gambit combo even faster than before. And then we have an accessory here. This could either be the Water Prayer or the Lump of Pure Envy, and that gives you Inky Envy, and that's not an accumulated status ailment, but what it does do is it causes vulnerability on the enemy. Uh, some folks will call it de-shell or de-protect, and that might be from the description, which I don't actually see now that I'm looking at it. But for the most part, the enemy is going to take more damage from both physical and magic, and it stacks with the elemental vulnerability that we're going to uh, inflict or afflict on the enemy. Um, yeah, so we have Lump of Pure Envy. If you don't care about or don't want to risk the the damage boost in this way, then maybe you could use Lionheart the accessory instead, or you can also replace Sage on your gear for Knight 400% so that you don't take HP damage during Lightbringer. But we'll talk about our survival method in a bit. Not in a bit. It's probably 5 minutes in bedtime. Um, so let's look at our gear. We have improved effect enchant, damage dealt sword combo ability, intellect, during Lightbringer damage dealt, and remove across all of our pieces of gear where we can. And then the last component changes. Remove, in particular, is. I'm sorry, not the one that changes that often. Remove is a blessing that increases your intellect based on your job. So, Tyrant gets a lot of intellect just through its own passives, through Tyrant 800% and beyond. And Remove brings that intellect even further out so that Tyrant is is among the third most highest intellect job in the game after Sage and Black Mage. It's right up there, right next to Ninja. Um, so yeah, Tyrant gets a lot of intellect and Remove's bringing that out, and Remove also brings out some spirit, which Tyrant gets a fair amount, a good amount of spirit as well, to help afflict those status ailments a little faster. But in the end, I'm actually using Summon's Blessing Phoenix, and that's my primary blessing so that when I do enough damage, if I die, and I will die, I get a free revive. And this is, we'll call it, one of my safety nets that rewards me for doing well. And as long as I'm doing well, I have at least one more chance to say, hey, that was a mess up. Let me go again. Let's keep going. And if I do well again, I get another Phoenix. Uh, I get another revive. The other thing that's happening here is that I do have status ailment resistance across my gear and my class in order to get 100%. And I also have damage taken at max HP across my gear to get minus 100%, or uh, with the current formula, that is half damage taken. Uh, so yeah, if the enemy normally hits me for 30,000 damage, that cuts it down to 15,000 damage, which would still kill me 3 times over. Uh, but it's the idea that I might have some other mitigation going on that will help me actually survive that a lot of times. And then uh, the last slot after you cover your bases are finding the highest damage dealt you can find. Or if you're trying to go the break damage route, then break damage dealt. But I went with damage dealt. So magic damage dealt, and for me, it was magic damage dealt that was the highest next thing I could find, and damage dealt at max HP was the highest thing I could find on this one. Ooh, pardon me. And then yeah, so we have next our combo abilities. I'm using Inky Envy on the first slot so I can quickly just, hey, here's an Inky Envy to the face, and then I'm using Knight's Gambit on either the second combo link, just so that I can accumulate the status ailments a little faster, as well as the hold or the charged attack link, so that I zoom across the room and use Knight's Gambit on them that way. And I do have Night Glow and Shining Wave here just in case I feel like doing something different, even though Night's Glow is going to hurt me, and Shining Wave is not going to take full advantage of the Tyrant's stats because it doesn't have a physical component to it, so that means Enchant is not enhancing it further either. Um, let's see here. And the reason why we don't have Interception on our gear is, or as one of our sword combo abilities, is because it gets in the way of our Knight's Gambit really bad. And so we don't get to do that full Knight's Gambit. We spend the MP. We might even be halfway through the animation. We get hit, and Interception goes off and just cancels all of that. So Interception is here if you're not using Knight's Gambit, like you're using Tempest and Ascension and Radiant Aura more, and Night Glow. But if you're using Knight's Gambit, unfortunately, Interception we're going to ignore for now. Now, for our command abilities, we have Sentinel. And our second job is built up so that we have a longer, stronger, um, not longer, pardon me, a stronger sentinel that will protect us. Even with our really low stamina, it will protect us long enough to maybe get the job done, or that's our hope. We have Barrage here because I just don't feel like putting in Bravery. I didn't really have too much going there. So Barrage, just the extra hit, even though that hit is not going to be very strong because our agility is really low for endgame, but it's there. And then we have Lunatic for the attack speed increase because Knight's Gambit is a long animation. We also have Lightbringer, which could also be Dimension Bringer, and you might see me switch out to Dimension Bringer during this video because there might be a trial that I just don't like, or I might say, hey, it's time to just try it out, pardon me, and see if we can actually pull off a full Knight's Gambit combo before this Dimension Bringer ends. And let's see, so kind of the end results of our gear, what it all adds up to on this job, even though I still need to show you the master points. Improved effective chant and damage dealt sword combo ability being pretty up there for endgame, but the enchant could have been better, as you can tell from my boots. I'm just using a 2 because that's all I had. I'm sorry, I didn't even show the second job. And then our second job, we have a lot of HP. We are stacked with HP in order to use Sentinel. And we have a lot of uh, improved effect Sentinel so that our Sentinel will protect us even more. But let's look at this for a while. We're using Monk because the Monk's focus ability increases your damage dealt and your break damage dealt. It's in the same bucket. As a result of the damage dealt increase, it's increasing your break damage dealt, even though the UI does not say that in English. And that affects your magic damage as well. So your enchant and your Knight's Gambit, the elemental parts of it, this is how we increase that damage. And we're choosing Master for Supercharge. You might still hear me call it Focus because you can charge up to 4 levels, and by itself is a pretty big boost now, as of the last third DLC. Different formula, but same bucket as all the rest of your damage dealt, or and your break damage dealt. But you get a lot of it. So we're using Master. Pardon me. Also, Black Belt doesn't stack with Lightbringer. And then for our job affinities here, let's talk about the Lightbringer or Dimension Bringer spam first, or you might hear it the Infinite Lightbringer or the Infinite Dimension Bringer. So Cyclic Warrior, 600%. Every time you trigger a Lightbringer, you also activate a Soul Shield. Soul Shields will recover your MP and your max MP with this way, but the max MP it gives you isn't that much by itself. But we have Void Knight, 400%, to reduce the cost of your Lightbringer. So now your Lightbringers or Dimension Bringers don't... they still require you to have 200 MP, but it cuts down that cost by 50 MP before Dragon Trials. And uh, and then we also have Void Knight 50% and 120% so that you are getting back more max MP when you Soul Shield. And then for whatever reason, when you use Cyclic Warrior 600% to Soul Shield, the Evoker 50% and 120% treats you like a different person instead of you being the one that activates this. And you restore some MP and even max MP, which is not a documented effect on this thing. You get some max MP back so that you get even closer to your goal of, okay, this Lightbringer wasn't so painful, I'm getting stuff back. And then another thing we have is we have Leviathan Perpetual Blessing. If you don't have this badge, then having a primary blessing such as, I'm sorry, having one piece of gear that's Leviathan will let you do what I'm about to do to some degree. But the closer you get to end game, like floor four, I'm sorry, 101 and higher, you can start acquiring badges from Gilgamesh. It's very rare, and the drop rate goes up after floor 200. You also start to see them at the Dragon Exchange shop, but the sort of the disclaimer here, it won't show up on the exchange shop if your personal Rift floor is not 201 or higher. So if you join someone else's floor, your Dragon Exchange shop is not going to update. Unless you happen to have already been past floor 201 or 201 or higher. I digress. Backing up a bit, we also have master points for increase MP limit boost rate. So that's category 4, so that your soul shields recover even more max MP. And the result here is we're going to have a Lightbringer or a Dimension Bringer that will hopefully not consume very much max MP if we don't have Dragon Trials on. And if we do have Dragon Trials on, it'll be a less, oh, pardon me, it'll be a less painful Lightbringer in terms of the how much max MP and MP we lose. Now, looking at the rest of our stuff, we have, for convenience, we have Summoner 400%, so every time you do a Lightbringer or any of the bringers, you recover a little bit. I'm sorry, anytime you do a Soul Shield, which is triggered thanks to Cyclic Warrior, 600%. Anytime you do a Lightbringer, it also triggers the Soul Shield, so you get a little bit of your buff durations back, so that you don't maybe have to reapply Focus 4 or pardon me, or Barrage or Lunatic or even Enchant. Not too often anyway. And then we have Summoner 600% that doubles the effect of our Leviathan's primary blessing, and that Leviathan being you recover more MP and max MP on your soul shields. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that earlier. I think you recover more MP and max MP on your soul shields. And then for world map or co-op or for a really slow rift, we also have Summoner 50% and 120%. So every time you chain cancel, in this case, when you're pressing, I think the default button is R2 or RT. I'm sorry, right trigger on the Xbox controller. That every time you press an animation or one of those job actions or combo abilities, if you change your job, and at this point, the hope and the assumption is that you have tried that at least once or know it. But maybe someone's watching this video and they haven't gotten to that point in the game where they really want to chain cancel. If you press the R2 or right trigger and then you change your job during that animation, that triggers a chain cancel. And thanks to Summoner 120% and 50%, which only starts to show up after the first DLC, after you get halfway through it and unlock the summoner job, then it starts dropping on gear. I'm sorry, I digress. Then you build max MP. And something else that helps out here is Gambler 120% and 50%. You restore a random amount of MP when you chain cancel, and that's based on your luck. So sometimes you get a lot of MP, sometimes you barely get anything. But the fact that you get anything at all might soften the blow and let you chain cancel in a co-op rift, or if you're just co-oping on the world map, or maybe you're in a rift well, yeah, the rifts do not have cubes, so you can't just touch a cube and be good. So just sort of the heads up there. And then something else we have is we don't want to squat very long charging up focus because there's 4 stages of it. So Red Mage 250% reduces that charge time, and that helps us out. And then from time to time, you will see me just chain cancel. You'll see me do a squat and chain cancel just so that I can get this damage bonus from Samurai 250%. A little bonus here is that Samurai 120% and 50% reduce your focus's activation cost just a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. One more thing that does help, and I keep forgetting to mention this in every other video, is Summoner 250% decreases sustained imbi cost. That also helps keep the cost of your focus down because while you're squatting, that's a sustained MP cost. It's not an activation cost anymore. So there's an activation cost and a sustained MP cost, and Summoner 250% reduces that a bit. And then the last thing we have on here, I'm sorry, not the last thing, I see another thing, is Paladin 400% to be immune to all status ailments like poison, paralysis, and petrification, and all sorts of stuff like that. Why is this video 25 minutes long and I haven't actually gotten to any of the other stuff? Is it just that involved? Crap. Um, so yeah, I don't like getting poisoned, paralyzed, or petrified. Maybe I fell asleep and I just forgot. Uh, Stuff like that. I have been yawning. And then we have Monk 400% so that you increase your max HP by 50%, and that helps us out. We get that. We're getting that from the Monk's Master Points. For the accessory from Gilgamesh that we have the muscle belt because for some reason it is the only accessory that stacks with its counterpart, mantra being the monk 400%. So uh, we get plus 50% max HP and plus 50% max HP, but they're in the same bucket, so it's double your max HP. And then I had two badges, one Leviathan and one for Bahamut. And the Bahamut here is going to, every time I soul shield, I get one stack that helps me get stats. And once I do 20 soul shields, which is in this case 20 Lightbringers, I get 20 stacks of Bahamut's primary blessing. So that's plus 20 to all stats, like strength, luck, all that stuff. Um, but when I switch jobs back to my Tyrant, I then benefit from Black Mage 600% because I have 20 Soul Shield stacks. So I don't benefit from the Bahamut stats from the Soul Shield stacks, but the Soul Shield stacks is just a buff that activates any buffs you have that increase every time you soul shield, and in this case, that's Black Mage 600%. So I will Lightbringer up to 20 times on this monk job. That triggers the soul shield 20 times, and then I can now benefit from the extra 30 intellect of the Black Mage 600%. As crazy as that sounds, and ideally, I probably should have had magic damage dealt turn into Bahamut primary blessing, but this video is already getting too long, and we're not going to go through the UI and sort that out. So let's see, gear effects. Oh my gosh, gear effects. We have improved effect focus, so that we get even more damage or break damage out of our focus or supercharge. We have improved effect Sentinel, so that our Sentinels are even stronger than before. Instead of just half of our HP, or more than half, I think, we get a lot more than half of our HP. So when we get hit by that 30,000 damage attack and that gets cut in half to 15,000, that all that effect, improved effect Sentinel, this extra 200%, we more or less have a Sentinel that's about 3,000 HP strong, if not more. So we can actually survive 2 hits if we don't get broken of an attack of that caliber. And at this point, a physical hit is going to be one of the ones that end up doing that amount of damage. So improved effect Sentinel is there. Uh, Also because we're not using Lightbringer or with Knight 400%, so we're a little bit vulnerable there. And then we have improved effect, improved effect Focus and Sentinel. And then we have Lightbringer duration on every single piece of gear. Ideally, we'd have HP on every single piece of gear too. And then a cross between either luck or buff duration, which some pieces of gear I have buff duration, others I have luck because I'm using Gambler 120%. If you're not using Gambler 120%, then just do buff duration. And then I also have Titan on every single piece of gear, but if I didn't have the Leviathan badge, I would have had one piece of gear that's Leviathan. And then, uh, let's see. Oh my gosh, pardon me. Master points. On the Tyrant, we have intellect stacked up as high as we can go because that helps our magic damage and our enchant. We have Tyrant just stacked up for even more intellect. I have critical damage dealt because I'm trusting that I'm going to be critical hitting an enemy once they have an accumulated status ailment, thanks to the Tyrant 400%. But most of all, I have During Lightbringer damage dealt because that, not most of all, I'm sorry, on the damage side, I have During Lightbringer damage dealt because I'm going to be either in Lightbringer or Dimension Bringer, or I might be in trouble and close to getting broken. And then I also have critical MP recovery so that every time my Tyrant 400%, thanks to that status ailment that's accumulated, I can get MP for during that Knight's Gambit combo and just kind of sustain that lifestyle. And then, oops, I'm sorry, losing focus here. Uh, on the monk, we have four things that are pretty important. But first of all, increase MP limit boost rate on category 4. That's how we get our Lightbringers. Sorry, the Soul Shields recovering more max MP to help us reuse the next Lightbringer. And then we have Lightbringer duration from category 3 so that our Lightbringer and Dimension Bringer will last longer. And then, oh shoot, I almost hit the cord and cut off the power. And then, specific to the Sentinel route, we have the Monk 400%. So I'm getting enough master points because I get 80% just passively through the job tree. In total, we have 400% Monk to get that max HP increase, and then we're stacking a crap load of HP master points, and then the rest of this is into luck and buff duration, just so we can chain cancel with Gambler and also buff up and not have to buff focus as often. Wow, we are not even at the. Yeah, I'm sorry, keep going. On our jobs, our NPC jobs, we have Tyrant on Ash because Ash gets a lot of intellect. And across the gear, we try to have Remove, except that I didn't have a good pair of Remove gloves at the time I did this. And I probably still don't. Um, so I went with Phoenix instead because they get Phoenix still gets a lot of intellect. Not nowhere as much as Remove, but still a good amount. Sorry, I say nowhere as much. That's probably not accurate. They get a good amount of intellect. But then Remove, intellect, and spirit stacked across the gear. Uh, and something I need to talk about before this is over, Lightbringer duration as well. I did the opposite way this time. So let's look at the accessory. They have Lionheart, so that when you press the D-pad left or right, or on the keyboard if you press the letters R or T, that your allies are going to be using their version of Lightbringer, uh, called Resonance. And during that time, they cannot die thanks to Invincible. So Lightbringer duration is stacked up so that they're invincible longer because if they're alive, they're giving me their stats. Thanks to Liberator 600%, they give me 12% of their stats, or in this case, their intellect and their spirit, which is the two that I'm really looking for. And that's going to help me out. Ooh, pardon me. But only while they're alive. So I need them to live. And the rest of their job affinities are just stacking Sage and Black Mage so that they get even more intellect and spirit to share with me. And then I do the same thing for Sophia because Sophia, as a Sage or even a Black Mage, gets a lot of intellect. But now Sophia, as a Sage, also gets spirit as well. So that's really important to me. I'm sorry. The Her being on Sage, getting all that intellect's important to me. But pretty much the same gear effects, at least the ones that matter that share to me, remove across the board. to get all that intellect and secondary spirit. She's not wearing those pants. And then same thing with the invincible. All right, is it time to actually do the build and try this out? I should have like field tested this before I started recording, but I am so confident in the results. No, I have a pretty good feeling about this because we have more attack speed. So first, I'm going to use focus and chain cancel all the way up, and then we're going to talk about how and what we do. And at the bottom right corner, you might notice my R2 is how I change my job, and that's how it's been. Uh, Within the first 2 minutes of me booting up the game for the very first time, I looked at the controls and I said, I am not using the shoulder buttons to attack. No way. Because, yeah, for basically however long I've been alive, I've been using face buttons to attack, so I am switching. So, yeah, I spent less than 2 minutes with, I'm sorry, within the first 2 minutes I set those buttons up, and it's been a long time since, so. That's why I get those buttons, Ben. I'm sorry. Okay, let's focus. Ben, shut up. But shut up about that and not about the build. So, the routine is we're gonna do. We could do lunatic at any. I'm sorry. We could do sentinel at any time on the monk because sentinel doesn't have uh, a buff duration. It just lasts. Now, the drawback is, as of the third DLC, I can't refresh the duration. I'm sorry, I can't refresh the Sentinel itself by doing a Lightbringer. That did change. That was possible before. Um, Now, you might also notice my Lightbringer didn't take up any max MP or regular MP. I still need MP to actually use it, though. So, like, you see the bar kind of jump down and go back up super fast, and it almost doesn't look like nothing happened. But that's what that set up earlier in the video, somewhere like in, I don't know what minute mark that was. That was the infinite Lightbringer setup. Also, as a side effect, see that number 11 at the bottom? We are getting more stats. Man, that is kind of slow. We are getting more stats, even though it doesn't show up on the UI. But before we go too much further, what's the routine? Let's start this part over so I can timestamp it. So the routine is we're going to use Lunatic, we're going to use Sentinel, we're going to use Focus and try to buff up all the way if we can. Chain Cancel if you need to, and then maybe even Lightbringer. And before you go in there, we can use Barrage, and then we're going to go in. And I'm going to use, I'm not going to use Blizzard this time on her because my other, my Knight's Gambit's going to cover that for me. Sorry, I'm just using Lightbringer to refresh duration at this point. Also, I'm going to press D-pad left and right when I go in so that my allies do not get completely messed up. So we're going to do an Inky Envy first, and then Knight's Gambit. And so it kind of goes like that. That was not so bad. But the problem here is we need to switch elements because she's resistant to this. So let's find one she hasn't used, like water. Inky Envy again. And she's dead before she gets to regenerate. Which, this is our Tiamat test. So this is normal. I mean, I'm sorry, not normal, but she staggers a lot. But let's also try this in the Rift, and maybe we'll try some other abilities here. Uh, oh, that is the wrong... I haven't cleared this mission yet, huh? Um, Oh, I remember. I abandoned the mission at the end because I was like, I don't want to sort through the gear. And wait, no, I did complete it. Wow, I didn't complete the Transcendent, whatever this is. That's the one from the bridge, isn't it? Yeah, not on this save. Crap. Get them confused. Um, so let's look at Rift monsters. And you could probably do this differently than what I'm about to do, but I am going to pull out the intellect monsters. Uh, I did claw my way back after some unfortunate events the other day. Granted, it wasn't that many floors, but whatever. Keep going, Ben. So we're gonna pull out the horse for intellect, and we're gonna pull out the jester's already out here. We're going to pull out Curl, even though Curl was just out, and we're probably gonna pull out Malboro for now. And what we're gonna do is we have the intellect and the magic damage dealt, and bonus if you have mage and black mage job affinity from the horse. For Curl, we have the Spirit and the Tyrant to help out with, well, the Spirit to help out with status ailment accumulation a little bit, and then the Tyrant job affinities will be nice because that's more intellect, and then you also have the increased monster quest efficiency that just kind of helps level up everything. And then we have the Malboro for Spirit for now. Um, this could probably be a lot better. I think agility might even be a better fit, but we'll keep going. And then we have the Ariman or the Floating Eye for intellect. Bonus if you have Sage job and Void Knight job leveled up. And also we get a little bit of benefit from during Lightbringer damage dealt. And then we have the Behemoth here for the combo ability stat bonus. Knight's Gambit, the intellect on that. And then the damage dealt to bosses. But you know what? Maybe we'll replace Malboro with the bomb so that we get more damage dealt to bosses. That sounds nice. And we get some stamina. So instead of 30,000 damage getting taken, we might only get hit for 29,000 damage. Maybe less than that. But let's go find some bosses that we're going to regret fighting. And I say that every time because I'm like, please don't make me re-record the video. And, crap. So, this is probably not. Oh shoot. Okay, let's go for one boss. So let's hope that this boss is friendly. Before you go in, drink a Mega Ether, and let's hope this boss doesn't completely kick our butt. But remember, we're gonna try to do a Lunatic, a Sentinel. Let's actually try to do a Lightbringer, so that we don't get broken too fast. And then we'll try to do a Focus. Might not have enough time to get the Focus all the way up. Then a Barrage, then an Enchant. Probably just choose like an Earth. Oh shoot. Oh, it's just you. Uh, whoops. So, need to be really careful on Gilgaman because he can break us like nobody's business. And I really should have tried to reapply stuff. Yeah, that Octobreak, if we had let him keep going. But also notice my Sentinel at the bottom left. I think I did reapply it at least once, but it's not too beat up. But you absolutely need to keep track of that, um, or else things go bad. Now, the Lightbringer, um, this again would be a lot easier and a lot faster if a lot safer if I had Knight 400% instead of the Sage on my gear effects or job affinities. This next part, you're going to see how fast I could actually drink a potion and get set up. So we'll see if that happens. Maybe they'll plant me outside of the rift. Nope. Protect me! Okay, let's do a full focus. Sorry, drawing a blank here. Did I do barrage? I can't see the bottom half of my friggin' buffs. I keep forgetting to also reapply. A different enchant. Sorry, that's what I meant to say. Sorry, you can tell that my brain starts shutting off as I, or reallocating resources to something that I'm not. You'd think I'd be used to it enough to be able to talk through it, but I think when I'm instructional, you know what? Forget those all boss. But you know, shoot. You know what? I'm sorry. This is now a let's play. Yeah, it's long. It's past 30 minutes. Is it? Holy friggin' dude! 45 minutes? 46? Now? Okay, we're going. This is now a let's play. I apologize for this. So we're gonna try to drink the high ether, mega ether, whatever it is that I'm trying to say. We're gonna try to do fast, and try not to regret it. Try not to crash. Oh, oh, Sophia, please just get back up. Let's get some type of enchant going. You could do like, oh yeah, I'm gonna look at that. I broke her first. Back up, do like shining wave. All right. Wow, that shining wave actually did a lot of damage. Let's see how the shining wave does. Even though we are very much not taking advantage of the enchant here. I lucked out. I lucked out so bad. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. I'm forgetting what my combo abilities are. Is it forward? Yeah. Night Glow. Night Glow does a lot of break damage. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Once the intellect is up, it does a pretty good amount of break damage. All things considered. So didn't lose too much Sentinel off of that. And what buff do I have? What enchant do I even have? I can't see. Oh, Ash. Ah! No, no. Okay, shut up, Ben. No, don't shut up. Respect yourself. Yeah. Oh, shoot. I missed the first thing. Oh, I hate when they have like a little bit of invulnerability while they're spawning in. And this is why we have our like, oh crap, I accidentally re-enchanted. I also keep forgetting to switch the enchantments around between phases because the boss develops resistance to them. So let's do water for now. Oh, shoot. Let's revive our allies. Let's switch to wind for the second phase. And notice how much MP we get through, well, actually the normal attack, that's not entirely fair, because they might be critting. Okay, so the Inky Edgy didn't last. There's no trials, right? I don't know what's going on. But I do know we need to switch. Let's do Unholy. A little messy. Oh, shoot, it's over. Did we go to the next floor? Yeah, I'm not doing all enemies. Oh, darn it. We're so close. Anywho, um, what's the word here? That is the magical sword tyrant thingamajig. This, I think I might have to post a shorter video first while this one's uploading and processing and the HD version and all this other stuff is happening. So, uh, yeah, short video first, probably, and then uh, this will have the full build plus some Rift practice, and um, we don't have the we don't actually have to do something super dangerous here. But yeah, I hope that helps.